Chairman, I appreciate being recognized this time. What's this amendment about?
Gentleman will proceed.
I couldn't hear myself think, Mr. Chairman, but I appreciate it. It's about second chances and restoration. Last year, many individuals on this committee worked on the First Step Act, a chance to give nonviolent criminal offenders a second chance. Earlier this year, we had a hearing on legislation that would have restored the voting rights of all felons, even people convicted of voter registration fraud, voter fraud, and voter intimidation. This amendment is very simple. As with the other legislation I mentioned, this amendment is about second chances. Current law allows an individual to petition the Attorney General for the restoration of their gun rights if they can demonstrate that their ownership of a firearm would not present a danger to anyone. This provision has been on the books for decades. But for many years now, a legislative rider has prevented the Attorney General from considering an application to restore an individual's gun rights. This has effectively prevented the Attorney General from approving any petitions. This amendment removes the current limitation to allow federal funds to be used to process, review, and either approve or deny petitions for the restoration of rights. I would like to read an article from 2017 about a former convicted felon who had his gun rights restored and how that allowed him to prevent the murder of an Arizona state trooper and another person. The title of the article is "Former Felon with Restored Gun Rights Saved Trooper in Arizona Ambush." Consider former felon Thomas Yoxall's debt to society paid in full with interest. The man who shot and killed an assault suspect on a dark highway in Arizona, rescuing a state trooper, said on Wednesday that he doesn't think of himself as a hero. The Good Samaritan had requested media anonymity since the early morning January 12th incident on Interstate 10. Today, he made his first appearance since the incident at a news conference at the headquarters of the Arizona Department of Public Safety. He identified himself as Thomas Yoxall, 43, a maintenance supervisor with a passion for photography and reading, and he mentioned that he has a past. As court records show, the past includes a 2000 conviction for felony theft. Fortunately for DPS Trooper Edward Anderson, whose life hung on the edge before Yoxall showed up on January 12th, Yoxall had his gun rights restored in 2003 after he successfully completed probation. Yoxall has paid back his debt to society big time. That morning, I never would have dreamt that I was going to save somebody's life, let alone take the life of another individual, Yoxall said. I don't recall any thought or feeling of fear. It happened very quickly. There wasn't necessarily time for me to react or think logically. I don't consider myself a hero that day. Yet DPS officials describe Yoxall's actions in terms that could in fact best be described as heroic. Trooper Edward Anderson responded to a vehicle rollover and saw a man and woman ejected from a vehicle. As Anderson approached the man, an illegal alien who used to be a federal Mexican police officer, fired a handgun that hit Anderson in the shoulder. The individual firing the handgun then began slamming Anderson's head into the pavement, trying to kill him. Yoxall saw the attack as it took place, pulled over, and grabbed the handgun he kept in the center console and ran to help Trooper Anderson. When the individual refused to stop attacking Anderson and Anderson called for assistance, Yoxall took a firing position that didn't put Anderson in the line of fire and took 2 shots that put the individual down. Mr. Yoxall then ran to assist Trooper Anderson, only to see the individual rise up and come at both of them. Yoxall then took careful aim and killed the man, hitting him in the head. The individual and the woman killed in the incident were allegedly meth users and drug dealers. Yet Mr. Yoxall did not let his checkered past dictate his future. Maricopa County Superior Court records show a felony charge of theft from the year 2000, which was later reduced to a misdemeanor. According to court records, Yoxall admitted to stealing electronics items from a group home where he worked. When petitioning the judge to reduce his felony conviction, Yoxall stressed that he was eager to be restored his right to bear arms. A felony conviction strips individuals of the right to possess a firearm, but they may be allowed the opportunity to have those rights reinstated in Arizona. Before this incident, I was an avid shooter, Yokesall wrote in 2003. I miss owning a gun. I miss shooting with my friends, as well as my son. I hope, if nothing else, you will reinstate my civil rights to include the right to bear arms once again. I yield back the remainder of my time, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman.
Does the gentleman insist on his point of order?